I've got Hollis on the line who's been waiting for some time. So, Hollis, I again appreciate your patience. Calling in from New Jersey. Pronouns are he, him, and wanted to talk about purity culture and sexual orientation. Oh, near and dear to my heart. Hollis, what's up? You're on live.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Atlanta. I'm from New Jersey. I'm currently living in Atlanta, but that's all right. Anyway, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I've been out of the church now for about 5 years, but every now and then I get that little twinge of that kind of flashback of purity culture, especially when it comes to like same-sex couples. I see on television, or when I look at certain websites, and it's just irritating. And I'm assuming that because I was in the church for 37 years, I'm assuming that this is just a time thing where when enough time passes, it won't be as much of an issue. Is that a good way to look at it?
Yeah, for sure. Christy, you go first.
Yeah, I feel like y'all have a lot more to say here, but I just want to jump in with a very quick bit of neuroscience. I don't mean to oversimplify all of the neuroscience in existence, but if you wanted to, you might say that we understand that what you practice, you get good at. If you spend a lot of time thinking about a particular thing, you are myelinating those nerves. You are increasing the strength of that thought in the way that it is expressed in your brain. And the opposite is also true. When you don't do something, you become less good at it. You start to see degradation in those nerve cells. And as you focus on different things, those things will fade. The previous things will fade away. So all time does heal all wounds. A lot of these wounds you may carry in some form or fashion for much of your life. And certainly there is opportunity to sort of reprocess some of those experiences, and working with a therapist or finding some other form of support can be very helpful in getting through some of the distress here. But if you spent years and years and years of your life, every single time somebody sneezed, feeling like you needed to instantly prevent their soul from leaving their body, then that's going to become a reflex that is a habit that dies hard.
For sure.
Okay.
Hollis, have you ever ate a handful of crickets?
No. I've been that hungry.
Me either. Have you ever seen anyone eat a steak?
Oh, yes.
Me too. I like steak. I don't really like crickets, but in a way, it's just a different kind of food, right? Like in certain cultures, people eat dogs. Over here, people don't eat dogs. But just because it's different and it's something that you're not used to doesn't mean it's inherently gross or inherently wrong. It's just something different. So, whether it's a handful of crickets or anal sex, different doesn't mean bad.
Okay.
Tara, what did you have to add?
Yeah, no, actually, I really like where you're going with that, Nate. I completely agree that a lot of times our brains get just kind of, I'm going to say, infected by, some of these ideas that we're brought up learning about, oh, this is a normal and okay thing to do versus these other things are abnormal. They're unnatural. You can't do them. And, that's of course not true. But nevertheless, if you heard that your whole life, you're walking around with that baggage or that wound, like Christy was saying. And, for me, something that, really helped a lot was learning about how actually there are people that have a whole lot of different ideas about what is normal and what is natural, because that's, with sex is like food. It's a biological drive that we all have, but we don't all do it the same way. Like I like ketchup on my French fries. Some people really think only mayo goes on French fries. Those people are not biologically wrong. They just do French fries
morally
different.
And socially wrong.
Right. It's an ethical issue.
Yeah. It's more about moral philosophy than anything
almost
else.
Like preference.
Yes, it's a preference, and it's also, what you grow up seeing and doing, like what Nate was saying, seems normal to you, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with someone who grew up doing it a different way or thought of doing something a different way. And so to me, kind of learning more and more about the, great diversity of human experience and human sexual experience that people have, has gone a long way for me to kind of unpack some of those beliefs that I grew up with hearing were, natural or unnatural, and finding out, okay, that's factually not even true. Like, I just don't even have to worry about that anymore because it's just flat out not wrong. Not right. It's wrong. It's incorrect. It's not wrong.
Unlike
Have I
mayo
made
on
that as
fries, which
confusing as
is wrong.
possible?
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
it's very
confusing your
wrong.
metaphor.
Okay.
I'm confusing my metaphor. It's, what I do.
Well, we're only allowed one metaphor per
Okay.
call, and I already snatched that one up. So
Yeah.
Christy's got something. I can tell he's chewing on something over there.
No, I really just wanted to check in with Hollis once again and see if if any of this was easy to wrap your head around, or if there was anything in particular that we might be able to walk you through, or even point you towards.
No, you pretty much summed it up. And thank you, very much for taking my call. I know you have some other callers on, but you pretty much summed it up, and it's good food for thought.
Mm-hmm.
It is good food for thought. Crickets are food for thought, apparently.
Well,
And
I appreciate you
fries.
calling, and I'll just say that I interviewed Dr. Daryl Ray on this show about how long it took for him to stop like humming or singing or hearing church music in his head. And he said that he would have to let me know. And this was, I think, some 60-ish years after having left the church. So, yeah, it can be a long journey, but it definitely gets easier.
Okay. Well, thanks again, and I'll definitely try to tune in next week.
Hey, well, thank you so much. And take care.
Awesome. Thanks for
too.
calling, Hollis.
Yeah, so we've been covering a lot of ground tonight. Certainly more that we didn't get to, but just broadly for people like Hollis that are beginning to perhaps deconstruct some of these purity culture beliefs or other aspects of religion, what would y'all recommend? What are the sort of good steps to break some of this down?
Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say something sort of akin to what Hollis was talking about with feeling, an aversion to things that you're not used to and leaving religion behind. I know, Kara, you're a part of recovering from religion.
Mhm.
I was a helpline agent for quite some time. I'm led to believe Dr. Daryl Ray had something to do with recovering from religion. But one of my favorite lines was always like when it came to people's fear of hell, and that was like another lingering thing aside from purity culture, is that knowing it's not real doesn't make it any less significant in your mind, right? Like there's an entire film industry devoted to scaring you, and like that, there's an entire religious industry devoted to scaring you, and that's sort of a parallel for purity culture. So it's okay to know that something's inaccurate and incorrect and still be bothered by it.
Mhm.
Sure, absolutely. Something can be true without being real. True to you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and something can be real without being true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely been my experience as well. Just because you've realized that you don't believe something anymore doesn't mean that you're not going to have an emotional response to it, because you may have been indoctrinated to have that response to it. And that might take a little bit of time to work through. And I mean, I still today will find myself thinking something or having an unfair, response or thought about something that I realize if I stop and think about it for a second, oh, hold on a minute. this is a holdover from some things that I was told. I'm slut shaming, or I'm feeling guilty about something that there's no reason to feel guilty about, and so on. Even though I don't believe that belief system anymore, you get in the habit of thinking and feeling certain things, and sometimes they can crop up. So yeah, I'm given to understand that that is a normal response. There are resources for that at places like Recovering from Religion, like Nate mentioned. Also, I thought about it for a second, Christy, and I remembered another book recommendation that I'm going to throw out there for
Yeah,
people.
hit me.
A book that I read that really spoke to me as someone who was assigned female at birth was the book Pure by Linda K. Klein,
Mm-hmm.
that goes over a lot of experiences of people, mostly women. It does have one trans man, if I'm remembering correctly, who's in the book, that give their experiences of how they grew up in purity culture and the ways that it affected them after they got older and started, being involved in intimate relationships. And, some of their experiences were things that, like, I had thought I was embarrassed to even talk about having happened to me, because I thought it was, something wrong with me, or this couldn't possibly be a thing that another person had experienced. But in fact, it is something that other people experience. And just realizing that and understanding that, I'm not broken, which is what, evangelical purity culture teaches you, is that you're broken and there's something wrong with you and you should feel bad about it. But that's probably not the case. And, being able to read about those other experiences or engage in a community where other people are talking about those experiences was tremendously helpful for me to realize, okay, I'm not the one that's the problem. This ideology is the problem. And that really went a long way for me to be able to kind of break down some of those assumptions and things that I was still holding on to without even realizing it.
I am not the problem. This ideology is the problem. Write that on your bedroom mirror. I think that that is a idea that many of us should hold in our back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mantra worth repeating.